another color, cherry blonde. By a raise of hands, how many of you have ever ridden a horse? Now, put your hands down if the last time you rode you dropped a quarter in the coin box at the local Kmart. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. For me, my story begins in the summer of '83. My husband and I decided to go horseback riding for the first time. Sure, we were a bit nervous because neither one of us had ever been near a horse. Oh, we had read that the art of riding is all about keeping the horse between you and the ground. So, really, how difficult could it be? Besides, the stable master had already assured us that he would bring us up two of his most tame horses. Now, he was gone for quite some time, but when he finally appeared, he brought up two beautiful golden brown horses. He must have known I was a Toastmaster because the name of this horse was General Evaluator. The stable master helped me mount my horse while Steve mounted his. Quickly, I realized that he placed me on the larger of the two beasts. Naturally, being a woman, I internalized the reason why. I could only conclude that he must have thought I was so fat that the smaller horse couldn't carry me. The stable master also gave us some instructions on how to communicate with the horse through verbal and nonverbal gestures. By taking hold of the reins, we could actually guide the horse to the left or to the right, and we could even pull back on those reins to get the horse to halt. A well-known verbal command, such as whoa, would also aid in stopping the horse. To get started, all we needed to do was apply a bit of pressure on the horse's ribs cage using our thighs, make that clicking noise with your mouth, and off we go. Sure enough, we were off. And that's kind of like getting the green light here in Toastmasters. As we headed down the trail, my husband leaned back in his saddle, and he said, "Hey, honey, this is going to be fun." I shrugged my shoulders and nodded my head, filled with a little bit of apprehension. And as we got around that first bend in the road, outside of the stable master, Steve's horse decided it was time for his morning snack. As his horse was left grazing, mine was left to wander. And wander it did. Now, Toastmasters, this is where I should have seen the yellow caution lights. Because a rider whose horse cannot lead or follow instructions is in serious trouble. Without any notice, the general took off for fast gallop. He had spotted two trees in the distance and he was headed straight for them. Oh, this was an extraordinarily smart horse because somehow, some way he knew that the width between those two trees was wide enough for him and him alone. Not a man in this rider! I began to panic. I didn't know what to do. I was inexperienced and those verbal and nonverbal cues, they weren't working. At the last minute, out of sheer desperation, I pulled my feet out of the stirrups. I lay flush on the horse's back. I closed my eyes and held on tight. Seconds later, I opened my eyes. I was still sitting in the saddle, and only a little worse for the wear. My sunglasses were now perched on the back of my head, and I had a few twigs added to my hair as an accessory. I looked back and peered through the trees, and there was my husband. He was now standing in front of his horse, pulling on the reins, screaming and yelling, and getting angrier by the moment because his horse wouldn't budge. Just when I thought I was out of the woods, 4 very experienced and fast riders sprinted by. A first-century Roman poet once said, horse will never run as fast until there are other horses to catch up in pace. Ovid was absolutely right. My horse bolted after them in a bustle, picked up his pace, and matched their speed in no time. All the while, I was on his back, screaming out my husband's name, Steve! In the distance, I could faintly hear, Sherry! Imagine my disbelief when I heard the sound of rushing water. The red light was now flashing, and the verbal command of "whoa, whoa" had fallen on deaf ears. The general had his own agenda, and he was running on his own time. Without hesitation, he soared through the air over that stream and landed effortlessly. Someone quipped once to ride a horse is to ride the sky. If that's what this meant, I wanted no part of it. This had been one wild. It's been 32 years since I've been on a horse, and although the animals are beautiful and majestic, it is far better for me to admire them at a distance than to ride them. I leave you with this last quote. It's from our former President Ronald Reagan. I think he was off his rocker a bit. He said, "There's nothing so good for the inside of a man as the outside of a horse." Hey, fellow Toastmasters.